I'll show you how it's done. Shazam!
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to our channel here at Underdeveloped, and today we are doing a movie review for the very much anticipated Sinners, directed by Mr. Ryan Coogler, one of my modern day heroes in the film industry right now. Black man who retained his accent from freaking Oakland, you know what I mean, talking like an Oak boy, you know, from the hood, ain't changing for nobody, and out here making bangers, taking Hollywood by storm, baby.
Yeah,
with essentially all black cast,
mostly
black filmmaker behind the wheel, writer, producer, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they did it. They did the thing, the Sinners, and it came out finally.
Yes, they did.
All right.
For those of you who might not be familiar with Ryan Coogler, you would definitely be familiar with his movies like Creed and the two Black Panther movies,
and also Fruitvale Station.
That's another notable
first
one.
Real big hit. Well, first feature actually. I'm pretty sure.
I think that's his first. So Sinners is the story of these two criminals, Smoke and Stack, who recently come back into town. They were just in Chicago where they screwed over Al Capone and framed it on a different gang, which resulted in a bit of a gang war. And they left with a bunch of their supplies, moved down home, and they wanted to start off their whole new, basically a nightclub. I don't really know a better word, a more period accurate word for
Probably
the
like
term.
a jazz club, I guess. I don't know. Blues club could have everyone playing the blues, I guess.
That is true. Any of those words could really apply to this, but they build up this club. They get their friend Sammy, who's really good on the fiddle, and they just basically just bring in the whole town there, and they all have a big party. But as the trailers give away, these vampires show up and they start picking off people, and they become trapped in the party that they've created in just basically one big dreadful night.
Yeah, filled with blood and
Irish jigs.
Yes, a lot of Irish jigs. Yes. Yep. Yeah. So, Sinners. What we thinking?
Overall, I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it a lot.
With me, the way I feel about this movie is quite similar to how I feel about Jordan Peele's Get Out. Get Out was another movie that's in the same realm of like horror, and of course layered with metaphor for white assimilation of black culture. That is a thing that's going around. And see, really thinking about this movie, really thinking about it, yeah, it was definitely true. But of course, in Get Out, I felt it was layered in a little more thick than it was in this movie.
Definitely.
Like this movie, like Ryan Coogler allowed his characters to be characters. Instead of just like layering every single fiber of the story with this metaphor. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he let the characters and their motivations take root while interjecting as a filmmaker pockets where he's like, okay, you know what I mean? Don't forget, this is what we're alluding to here. You know what I mean? Well, he's definitely not making it obvious, but at the same time, it's frequently in the story.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to miss.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, of course, you know what I mean? The main goal of the antagonist was to basically he wanted to take Preacher Boy because of his blues ability. He wanted to basically bring him into his herd so he couldn't have that ability, because there's the whole point of where these vampires work is that once he bites you and you turn, you kind of share memories and history and skills and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So it's all like one connected hive mind. That's how he decides to use vampire, kind of like the Borg in Star Trek, where they're all in this hive mind, or this one collective.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Essentially losing their identity and becoming part of this man's horde, like a cult.
Yeah, not unlike a cult.
Yeah.
Cults are also big on identity theft.
Yeah.
Death. Yeah.
For sure. And I think that's actually a very interesting thing, Mark Coogler. I thought that's actually quite original. You know what I mean?
It is. It's mostly the original thing about his vampires.
But circling back to Get Out, my perception is that obviously there's similarities in ways that they're both black filmmakers. They both tackle similar issues.
They're both fairly original.
And they're both fairly original in its premise. But I think there's similarities in there. But what really strikes similar to me is how I perceive it. Because they both have similar problems where the first half of the movie is like really intriguing, really interesting. Like Get Out specifically is a lot of build up and suspense, and it's interesting because you feel you're building with something huge, and then you get something really interesting at the end there. But then the third act kind of falls, kind of like rushes itself and Get Out. Like the dude, the main character crashes out, kills the family, and you know what I mean. Then he's discovered by his friend, and that's you know what I mean. For like an hour and a half of build up, that 20 minutes is kind of dissatisfying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, it's like not enough. A lot of build up, not enough payoff. You know what I mean?
But that problem is definitely not nearly as bad in Sinners as I felt like it impacted Get Out.
Sure, but it had similar problems. Like I felt the first hour in Sinners was pretty good, pretty solid at building these characters, building up something that I thought was going to be something that was really going to be a big thing that's going to carry on throughout like a significant amount of time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? In the movie, you know what I mean? But it kind of became a self-contained thing, where it's pretty much all takes place in one night. And that really wasn't what I expected, because I didn't go into Sinners with a lot of expectations or a lot of like ideas about what it is. Like, I kind of went into it with a fresh mind. So that was like my initial like conception. I was like, oh, okay, it's about to be some huge concept thing. It's gonna last for a long time, but it kind of all wraps up in one night. And I think the villain itself is such a big figure that I was like, okay, we just killed this entity just like that in one night, boom, and then you resolve your problems with the gangsters just like that. To me, it's like somebody feels unearned. The movie definitely suffers some very structural problems, pacing specifically.
Yeah, it does get. Things in the comics happen way too fast.
I feel the third act kind of imploded on itself. Even though the third act, unlike Get Out, did have some really good stuff in it. I mean, third act has some good stuff too in Get Out, but I mean, the third act had a lot of riveting moments for sure, especially when it infiltrating the fucking bunker and fighting to protect themselves. Some sad deaths, you know what I mean? And then you getting into like the vampires and the purpose, and the main villain played by Jack O'Connor, like he plays the character so well.
Oh, he's
like,
great.
He's like a cult leader.
He's fantastic.
He invites you. He almost makes you want to be part of his collective. He's just warm and he's relating because he's an Irish immigrant, and you know what I mean. So he's trying to relate to his struggles.
He's trying to make this
the black struggle.
Yeah,
you know
he's trying to make
like,
the false equivalence.
So to bring you in, to bring them in.
And what makes it so perfect is that he's not only great at that, but he's also great at more terrifying aspect when like the mask is off, you know?
Yeah.
Like even then, like he's just a very convincing villain in all the right ways, and he is by far the best performance of this movie, which I do like most performances of the movie in general.
For sure. Yeah.
The only real weak point is Michael B. Jordan, who, while he does do a good job as an actor, the problem is he's playing two characters and they don't seem different enough from each other. Yeah,
there's not enough dichotomy between these two characters.
Yeah,
like if you saw the movie Legend with Tom Hardy, he played criminal twins, and it is night and day between the two. That's very different personalities, very different.
Yeah.
Like one is just a straight shooter leader kind of dude, more calm reserved. The other one is actually gay and a wild card. You know what I'm saying? And wears glasses and look different and all that kind of stuff. And they don't even look too different. You know what I mean? If you're trying to play up to the fact that Stack was trying to be more like Smoke, you know what I mean, play into that. You know what I mean? But to me, they're just two twins that are quite similar to the point where there's that way. What's the point even having it? I mean, obviously there's certain differences. Like obviously, what's his like Stack is a little more
impulsive?
It's a little more impulsive than Smoke is.
Yeah.
And Smoke is obviously like the leader of the two.
Oh, definitely. He's the one. He's more rational by comparison. But again,
he's the man with the plan and keeping the trains running.
The way that they're characterized is like these aren't as jarring differences as they may sound as we're talking about them. They're far more subtle in terms of how they're done. You know, they don't really do enough with these changes to make them feel like different characters. I can totally see some people confusing one for the other at certain scenes, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's my only real complaint with the acting. Like, aside from that, I think he did fine, and I think the whole cast did good.
For sure, the performances and the look. I mean, the shot on IMAX 60mm. I mean, sorry, IMAX 70mm, and we watched it on an IMAX 70mm screen, so it looked awesome. It often changed aspect ratios, but I guess now I'm led to believe that it was kind of intentional.
Well, yeah,
for certain moments, I thought it was just like because I've seen other movies in that theater, and it did that, and it was assumed then that was due to like the way they shot in the format, it wasn't really compatible with how they showed movies, so it had the big litter boxes like like closing in because it wasn't created in a format that would support a 70mm screen.
But with Sinners, it's very obviously intentional.
I mean, I take your word for it, but what exactly made you feel that way?
Because he kept fucking changing it up. Like, he did it whenever it happened, it was always at moments that to try emphasis on something that was on screen. Like it didn't
What do you
happen
think
just
he's trying to draw emphasis on when he did it?
usually character reactions. Usually something important in the center of the frame.
That's kind of drawn to do that so frequently, though, because I mean, like I feel most of the movie was in that aspect ratio, and then on certain exterior moments, he went wide. You know
No,
what I mean?
I feel like more of the movie was wide. Like maybe like 60 or 70% of the movie was wide.
Yeah, I disagree. I think it's reverse. I think it was 70%, 75% of the movie that was like that, because I was paying attention to that. 'Cause that should really fucking like irk me. So I was really paying attention to how long. Like, when are we finally going to go? Because when I came in with it, the first, like, 10, 15 minutes was, like, in that aspect ratio. And then they finally did a wide shot. You know what I mean? Like, they did the wide shot. They opened it wide when, I remember when the vampire first came in, tried to, bite the fucking family, the clan people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it was like, so to me, it's like, that, when I was paying attention to it, it was, like, a lot. It was, like, definitely more in the aspect ratio. And I was like, so it's a 70mm, the whole thing should look like that.
Again, the articles coming to lead up in the movie often said that only these theaters are showing the movie the way that Coogler intended for it to be showed, and it's a 70mm screens.
Well, yeah,
so very intentional.
So saying that, then I suppose he did one that look like that. Okay, sometimes it's registered as an error because certain movies I've seen, as I said, in that theater didn't look that way. So I just wrote it off as like, oh, okay, it's some kind of, he didn't shoot in the proper format, I guess. Which is weird because he did say he was shooting IMAX 70mm in the interview. So
like
I was thrown off by that.
Yeah, honestly, Coogler is the kind of guy like I would trust him to know what format to shoot in for this kind of shit. Yeah. I trust him for that.
I mean, well, you shoot any format he chose because he wanted to look a certain way.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it still looked good. Still, from the period piece, the wardrobe. I love the little gold tooth and Michael B. Jordan. You know,
Stack was the one with the gold tooth.
Yes, smoked it too. It was,
okay.
It was kind of like to me, it's kind of highlight like badassery. Like they'll occasionally open their mouth and lick the gold, and it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Like somebody was like, it made them like more like menacing, important, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Characters, that kind of subtle things about the wardrobe, the way they quietly had their, clothes, you know what I mean, set. Yeah, other than that, those characters weren't really too distinct, so
they weren't.
It was kind of a lost opportunity to make, two characters interesting, because
what's
when having twins if they're pretty much damn near alike without any kind of reason to it? It's just kind of dull.
Exactly, like Mickey 17 wouldn't have been as interesting if Mickey 18 was that as similar to Mickey 17.
That's what made it work. They were completely night and day opposites.
Yeah, that's why it worked in that movie. Well, here it did feel like a bit of a missed opportunity. Again, like in the movie that a lot of people are comparing it to for good reason, From Dusk Till Dawn. Well, that didn't have twin brother criminals. It did have brother criminals. And in that movie, like George Clooney, Quentin Tarantino, they play like this complete. They're both scumbags, but they're both completely different types of scumbags. Mm-hmm. So it's like even in that movie, we have more examples of characters being distinct. And speaking of characters, I think that movie handles characters and character change way better than Sinners does, because Sinners doesn't really have a lot of characters really growing over time. Even like Sammy is the one with the most potential for character growth, but even then he just kind of gets traumatized. Nothing really changes for him, I don't think.
Yeah, like that's another big problem with the movie because of how they kind of altered into the self-contained thing in one night. And then the threat being the only real, main problem at hand that has to be solved. Mm-hmm. It kind of doesn't leave room, for these characters to really have these full moments. Like only like one character, and I'll say it's probably Annie that had some kind of like character moment. But even that, she kind of has the same values she had in the beginning and in the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and Smoking Stack, kind of. Barely, and that's a fucking problem. Yeah, but I get it. That probably wasn't his mission. Like, as I said, it was layered with subtext. I was like,
it was. It's here to it's here to send a message about cultural assimilation, and it does that well.
Yeah, and pretty unique at that. So I give the movie its points, but at the end of the day, I'm into movies, and and as a viewing experience, that doesn't make me these character deaths that happen quite frequently. I didn't give a shit because you didn't make me care about your characters enough. Because they barely feel like characters to me. There's nothing really in that movie that really made me attached to a character. Mm-hmm. Not really. Only character kind of was Sammy.
Yeah.
And Delroy Lindo's character, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest to me, nah.
Yeah. A lot of the characters was kind of fine. They're really just held up by their performances and not so much by the writing.
Yeah. So this movie definitely isn't the perfect 99, 97, 98%
No.
that they make it out to be by far.
I would still give it a good score, but not nearly that high.
But it's still a solid outing nonetheless.
Oh, of course.
What else do we need to say about this?
I'm not sure. I think did we not cover everything?
There was one really good one take. Well, seemingly one take. Probably was edited through and through to make it look like one full take.
Certainly
But it was like panning through the It's pretty much like panning through the club, and then you see the different you see like the club as it is, and then as you pan through the club, it kind of like dissolves into like, okay, like this is not people party in the modern day or more modern days. So we see kind of like people getting down at a party through the eras.
Exactly.
You know how black culture has evolved through the eras, and I thought that was very creative and unique to do.
It was like that was a very interesting scene. Yeah, like I thought again, like Sinners is a movie that's full of really unique and interesting ideas and moments, and I do think it's a movie worth experiencing purely just to see all of it in its glory.
And he definitely took influences for sure. This is not purely original. This is definitely
100%.
I'm getting huge with Sinners. I'm getting well, not huge, but like the Thing for like one scene,
like
one or two specific scenes that gave me real Thing vibes. Like, oh, you don't know who's a vampire with you right now. Cool with that. Obviously, some Night of the Living Dead. I feel got some of the vibes like being surrounded at the house, having a black lead. The black lead is smacking the shit out of people. Like, you know, I'm like, that's just...
And a big part and a lot of the plot structure is very reminiscent of From Dusk Till Dawn. That's why I see a lot of people making the comparison.
Yeah, I have to see that movie.
Yeah, I mean, they're not one-to-one the same. Sinners is still unique enough where it really stands on its own. Yeah. But there are a lot of similarities in terms of the actual structure of both films. It is kind of... It actually would make a very fascinating double feature.
For sure. Yeah, I was saying that. I think what is your score for this?
I'm going to give it an 88. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, though it's certainly not perfect. I can good consciousness give it a 90, but 88, I think it just speaks true to how I feel about it.
Yeah, I say 83 for me. I think that's a solid, pretty good, just not great, but damn near good. And I feel this movie did its thing.
They did. Yeah. Anyways, be sure to let us know what you thought about Sinners down in the comments below. Hit the like, subscribe button. We catch you for more next time.
See you guys later.